Dr. Phil's MeritTV, and we have breaking news just now coming into the Dr. Phil newsroom. I'm Fanchon Stinger.
And I'm Joe Gum. Listen up. It's now changing. We begin in Washington. President Trump following through on his plans to impose tariffs on 3 of our major trading partners, Mexico, Canada, and China. But there is breaking news on that. New this hour, President Trump said that he will pause for 1 month tariffs on goods entering the U.S. from Mexico after Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum agreed to immediately send 10,000 soldiers to her country's border to prevent drug trafficking and criminal illegal aliens pouring into the U.S.
That's right. So it looks like the negotiation tactic is working big time. The initial plan slapped a 25% tariff on all goods coming from Mexico and Canada, and then a 10% tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States. There will also be a 10% tariff on Canadian energy products starting tomorrow.
The president says the tariffs are in response to the flow of illegal immigrants and fentanyl coming into the U.S. Here's Trump speaking to reporters last night.
If they want to play the game, I don't mind. We can play the game all they want. Mexico, we've had very good talks with them, and this is retaliatory. This is retaliatory to a certain extent. Millions of people flowed into our country through Mexico and Canada, and we're not going to allow that.
All right, the move leading to a swift response from all 3 nations. China's Ministry of Commerce said it would file a legal case against the U.S. at the World Trade Organization.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced Canada will impose its own set of new tariffs of 25% on U.S. goods.
This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives.
All right, so let's get you up to date in terms of where we are right now. President Trump had plans to speak with Trudeau today, also to speak with the Mexican leaders, and that is where we stand right now. New and breaking. We do want to bring in our panel.
Yeah, that's right. Melissa Armo, finance expert, as well as CEO and founder of the Swoosh, a stock market educational firm. Also with us, Robin Byro, Democratic strategist, former Obama campaign director, and Army Ranger veteran. Melissa, let's start with you. Good morning to both of you, by the way. Hope you're having a great Monday so far. We hear the word tariffs tossed around a lot nowadays. Can you explain to our viewers here what exactly tariffs are and how they are used as a sort of a punishment of sorts? Because we're seeing the backlash right now. We're seeing the pushback, actually. We saw the pushback over the weekend, and now Mexico responding with, okay, let's wait here. Let's figure this out.
Excellent reporting, because this is breaking news, like you said, that they've decided to pause on the tariffs with Mexico after a call this morning with the president of Mexico about an hour ago, and markets are rallying actually right now on that news. And we could have news out later today when Trump actually has a call at 3 o'clock with the Prime Minister of Canada, and Trump is going to have a press conference later today as well. So just to explain to the viewers what tariffs are, it is an extra cost that is paid, sometimes passed along to the consumer. Sometimes the company will actually absorb that cost of the product when you're exchanging goods and services from country to country. For example, if I wanted to buy a beautiful pair of Italian leather shoes directly from Italy, I would pay a tariff on those shoes in order to have those shoes, to ship them from Italy into New York City, which is where I live. So again, the cost is sometimes put on the consumer, but that's the company's discretion. Trump is trying to use this as a negotiating tactic for many reasons. One is the fentanyl that's coming across the border. Another one is that we have an issue with immigration. The borders are not closed. And another issue is that the trade agreements really that are put where one country is buying from another country are really not even Steven. So there's lots going on right now. You're going to continue to see this volatility in the market. We were down this morning on the open, and now we're rallying. So I think this is a temporary disruption in markets, and I wouldn't even be surprised if, again, there's a good call this afternoon, again, with the Prime Minister of Canada.
Let's talk about the breaking news right now, because we heard a lot about the back and forth, Robin. A lot of people saying, a lot of economic experts have been saying this was a brilliant negotiation tactic. It's not just about the illegal entries and the fentanyl, but the president is saying that the U.S. has been getting ripped off from some of these countries for decades. What do you make of this? Because I have some sources inside telling me that there could be more big announcements and deals made coming out of this negotiation later today.
Within the Trump administration. So I'm hearing some of the same. So this is interesting to me. And I want to make a point here that no one else is making in the news. When Trump imposed tariffs during his first term, President Biden kept nearly all of those tariffs. So it would be intellectually dishonest for me to now say that they're bad. They do work in some cases. Just last week, I said that they were working brilliantly with Mexico. As you see this morning, they are working. Now, with Canada, I think it's a different story because, as you see, President Trump said just yesterday on Truth Social that the tariffs would go away if Canada would agree to be our 51st state. I think that's a pipe dream. I don't really see that happening in any sense. But I do think that it's a brilliant negotiating tactic, and I'm eager to see how this plays out, Fanchin.
Well, and both of you, I'll start with you, Melissa. Are you looking, is this a Trump, America First Trump, that is a little bit more, that's bolder than the first one when he was in office? Because let's go back to the World Economic Forum. He called out Bank of America for what they did. He called out the EU. Then all of a sudden, when it comes to deporting criminal illegal aliens, he called out Colombia, pushed back there. And now with Mexico, Canada, I feel like a lot of people are bypassing that and saying, well, this is just bullying. But it seems as to me, America first, we're going to get what we want. And like he said, Melissa, this week, he said it's going to hurt a little bit if these tariffs go through, but in the long run, we're going to be better for it.
It may not hurt at all. Why? Because one of the things that Trump promised was to lower energy prices and start drilling in the United States. And one of the reasons why products cost as much as they do, and we've had high inflation, is because everything that you buy gets to you in a truck. So diesel fuel has been very expensive and gasoline. So if those prices come down, even if companies decide to pass the cost onto the consumer, it may end up not costing Americans more to buy goods and services. Again, we don't know how this will flush out. But to your point about American dominance, I think Trump learned a lot when he was president for the first 4 years, and a lot of time has passed by. And again, now he's doing exactly what he wants to do. And again, it is about America's dominance and exceptionalism. And one thing I also want to point out is the US dollar this morning was very strong against the Canadian dollar. So that's something also that is important too, because we want to continue to trade in US dollars, and we want the US dollar to remain strong and be the world's currency. And there was some scuttlebutt about that in the last 2 years, I'd say, during the Biden administration, because the US is carrying so much debt. And that's one of the things and one of the reasons why Elon Musk now has decided to be in charge of this Doge that is going to save us money spending wise, because we've been overspending. That's why the other reason why we've had inflation as well, because the government's spending so much. Everyone's paying their fair share in taxes, but the government is spending too much money on wasteful programs.
Yeah, some of the spending cuts that we're seeing that Elon Musk is revealing and exposing is really mind-blowing. You know, Robin, I want to go to China in all of this, because we're talking about Canada, we're talking about Mexico. We just heard over the weekend, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has a deal with Panama. Panama has agreed to not renew its port deal with China. China controlled both sides of the Panama Canal, so they're not going to renew that deal. Talk to me about what that means when it comes to these trade conversations and negotiations that the president is going to now continue to have with China. How does that change things, if at all?
Oh, it does. It changes things significantly. And make no mistake, I want the viewers at home to understand that China is not really a friend of ours. They steal our intellectual property. If we develop something in Silicon Valley, China immediately makes a ripoff and sells it on Alibaba or Temu for 25% less than we can sell it for here in America. That's theft. So we have to address this, and I'm glad to see that this administration and the prior administration was tackling this head on. And I'll be honest with you, I had things in my shopping cart right now on Temu that have already the prices have already gone up by about 25 to 50% since the tariffs have been announced. So make no mistake, there's also corporate greed at play. If there's a threat of tariffs, manufacturers will absolutely use that as a way to increase prices because that increases profit for them.
Melissa, what's the positive outcome you believe the president wants from this move? Because, again, he said we'll have to go through a little pain as consumers, but better in the long run. Who cries uncle at the end of the day? Does Mexico give in and say, OK, we'll do our best to fix the border? They're already sending 10,000 soldiers to the border. So does Canada do that? Now China? How does it play out in your mind?
It plays out that the United States will win because, again, they need us more than we need them for trade. And again, the United States gives lots of money to lots of countries. Look at what happened over the weekend with Venezuela in the last few days. I didn't even know that we had people, that American citizens that were in Venezuela. So again, Richard Grenell went over there, brought them back, and again, they caved and ended up taking immigrants into the country that they weren't going to take. So look for more of that, and Trump continuing to, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it push his luck by making threats and saying that Canada is going to be the 51st state, like Robin said, I don't think it was ever going to happen. He just says things like that to push buttons on certain world leaders so that he can get what he wants in the end. So I'm not even sure if there's going to be any pain because, again, all of this could be resolved in the next 24 to 48 hours with Canada. And Mexico, they've got another month to resolve it. So I think people need to take a step back. Don't look at your retirement account, again, with the volatility in the market. If you're in the market long term, I think the bullish uptrend holds for the market. And just stay the course and continue to listen to what Trump is saying when he does the press conferences, which I'm sure you will cover later today.
This back and forth actually is leading up to the Super Bowl. It's a lot more exciting leading up again to the big bowl game this weekend.
This is the pregame.
Yeah, this is the pregame. Melissa, Armo, Robin Byro, thank you both very much.
Good to see you both. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Well, the president not slowing down, as you know, also making moves against our enemies on the international stage. U.S. forces carried out air